Okay, so our last session was very invigorating, and I applaud everyone for wanting to stay and hear more about Excelsior. So this session is to talk about eligibility criteria for Excelsior. So we've already done certification. We're not going to talk about that in this session. If you still have any outstanding questions, I will be around all day. I'll probably be hanging out in the lobby. Feel free to come talk to me. But I'd like to just keep this session to the eligibility criteria. So I'm going to go, once again, I'm going to go through all the slides because we do have people listening out in the world, and then I'll take questions. Okay, so who is eligible for Excelsior? And I'll actually just start by saying you've probably already heard all of this information, but once again, it doesn't hurt to hear it again. So first thing is the student needs to be a resident of New York and have resided in New York State for 12 continuous months prior to the beginning of the term. Be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. Have graduated from high school in the United States, earned a high school equivalency diploma, or passed a federally approved ability to benefit test as defined by the Commissioner of the State Education Department. Have a combined federal adjusted gross income of $110,000 or less for the 2018-19 academic year, which will increase to $125,000 adjusted gross income for the 1920 and after. So obviously the student needs to be pursuing an undergraduate degree at a SUNY and CUNY college, SUNY or CUNY, not both, sorry, which includes community colleges and the statutory colleges at Cornell and Alfred universities. Students need to be enrolled in at least 12 credits in a program of study each term and successfully complete 30 credits in program of study each evaluation year with no break in attendance. Credits earned as a non-matriculated student may be included in the enrollment in the 12 credit each term requirement. If attended college prior to 2018-19, they had to have earned 30 credits each year with no break in attendance in a degree program prior to applying for Excelsior. Students cannot be in a default status for any student loan under New York State or federal education loan programs or in repayment of any New York State award. They need to be in compliance with terms of service conditions imposed by a New York State award that he or she has previously received. And they need to execute a contract agreeing to reside in New York for the length of time the award was received, and if employed during such time, the employment must be in New York State. So just to touch on the employment part of that, if the student, well, they would be a recipient. If they are working for a company that is headquartered outside of New York State, say they work for Google, but they actually physically work from New York, then that's fine. So it's not that the company has to be located in New York. We realize, people work for companies that are all over the country, all over the world. As long as they're physically located in New York, then they would be fine. So recipients can receive up to 2 years of an Excelsior award in an associate's degree program and up to 4 years in a bachelor's degree program, or if they're in an improved 5-year program, which normally takes all students 5 years to complete, then they would receive Excelsior for 5 years. And these are programs like architect, engineering, pharmacy, and I'm sure there's more, but they come to my head right now. So The students need to enroll in 12 credits per term and complete 30 credits per year. Credits must be in the student's program of study, excludes remedial classes, and summer and/or winter term credits can be added to reach the 30 credit requirement per year. Let's talk a little bit about ADA students. So ADA students must be continuously enrolled and complete the same number of credits attempted each term. If a student did not earn credits for all courses attempted, missing credits can be earned during the summer or winter terms. And then you would add the credits back to the fall or spring, whichever is appropriate. So this is just giving an ADA student a chance to still remain in the program. Just a little bit about ADA. ADA students, the requirement obviously is that they must complete what they enroll in. So if they enroll in 9 credits, they have to complete 9 credits. If they don't, then they lose their eligibility. There is no 30 credit requirement for ADA students, but they have to complete what they're enrolled in. So if they do 9 one term and 9 the next, and so they have 18 credits for the year, as long as they complete them, they still retain eligibility. Okay, so how does the student start the whole process of getting an Excelsior award? Well, they need to, first-time applicants must complete an Excelsior Scholarship Web application. So what I'm talking now is for 18-19 and going forward. So this has changed a little bit from last year's processing. No additional documentation is required unless the student chooses not to e-sign. We are no longer asking for transcripts, unofficial or official. We made that decision since we are relying on you to do our credit verification for everyone. We no longer need to do that, so I appreciate the fact that you're doing it. It's one less thing that we have to do. The 18-19 application was made available on March 26th, and it will be open until July 23rd. So it's 120 days for the students to apply for an award for the 18-19 school year. Students must complete the FAFSA and the New York State student payment application. And the requirement is there because it's not enough just to apply to be made eligible, they have to also apply for payment. That way we know for sure what school the student is going to, and then when we get to the certification process, we send the manifest to the right school. Okay, so this, what I just went over is first-time applicants. So returning applicants, so those are students who were lucky enough to receive an award in the 17-18 academic year or spring 18 only. All they need to do is the FAFSA and the New York State payment application to request the Excelsior award payment. Now, I don't know if everyone was here in my session yesterday when I went over the application process, but remember, when the student logs in, basically we read our database, see what what awards the student has. It is presented to the student, tells them what they need to do to complete the requirements for the particular program. So, like yesterday I showed someone with a STEM award, they're required to apply for TAP. They're given the option to apply for TAP. Same thing with Excelsior. If their income is in a certain category, if they need to apply for TAP, that'll be indicated. So there's no guessing from the student's perspective, what do I need to do? It's built into the application process now. All right. So for eligibility determination, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, so to speak. Our internal evaluation is we check to see if the FAFSA was filed, because that's a requirement for everybody. TAP application is filed if they fall within the income limits for TAP, residency, and income verification. So the income verification process is kind of like what we do for TAP. Obviously, everyone knows we verify income. So we verify the income through Department of Tax and Finance. We verify, but we're verifying federal AGI, not New York State income, because the Excelsior eligibility is based on AGI. So we're actually asking tax to verify line 19 on the IT 201, which is the federal AGI, which is the same thing that's on your federal tax returns, but obviously it's reported on your state returns when you do it, and I'm sure since everyone here files taxes, you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so in the budget, which I talked a little bit about yesterday, but in the budget is now income flexibility for Excelsior and ETA. But so the income from 2016 will be used because that's prior, and we know that, except under the following conditions: death, disability, divorce or separation during 2017 or 18. If one of the occurrences that I just mentioned occurs, the applicant will be required to complete the income appeal form and provide documentation to support the request to use the 2017 income instead of the 16. So this was a good change for the students. I think it was something that was needed. So as I was talking about yesterday, but I'll just mention it a little bit now, there's going to be two ways for the student to get to the income appeal. Right now, if you go to the Excelsior fact sheet, there's a section on appeals. One of them is for income appeal, and the other is for like a break in attendance type appeal. So the student would click on the link for the income appeal. It's a short form. It's a one-page form. We're asking the student obviously to identify themselves and the reason for the appeal, and it includes death of a parent or spouse, divorce of parent, separation, or disability, total and permanent disability. And the required documentation is listed on the form. So if the student just checks the box and doesn't send us any documentation, we will reach out to them and ask them for the documentation, because we obviously need it to support the appeal of asking to use a different income. So everything is outlined here. I'll take questions after. Hold on. So, and we're also going to be changing the Excelsior application to give a disqualification message if they're denied based on high income over the 110,000, which will link them to the same appeal form that I just showed you.